Okay, today on the 1% podcast, we are honored to have Seyi Oladipo, recent graduate and safety from Boise State University in the football program. Seyi's getting ready to head to the NFL draft tomorrow, so we're glad to have him on the program. We're going to talk all things faith, football, family, his upbringing. His family immigrated to the United States from Nigeria. We're going to talk about that and about who Seyi is as a person and the influence that football, Coach Danielson, the Boise State football program, has played in his life, and what that looks like moving forward. But pursuing that dream and that opportunity to go play in the NFL, what's that like?
Oh, how's my dad get cancer? Like, he's doing all this, he's grinding. It's like, wow, what am I going to do? But seeing how he was still so resilient and just kept on working.
Something why I advocate that every kid should be part of, every kid should learn to play a sport or, have some sort of hobby that's demanding of them, right? Like,
Life's going to take it all from you.
Yep.
You've never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse. It's the best thing I've ever heard.
Seyi Oladipo, welcome. We're glad to have you today.
And thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Seyi is a safety at Boise State University, just newly graduated. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next step of your life. In fact, we kind of had to move the podcast up a little bit because you're going to be going out of town. Let's talk about that a little bit. What's the next couple steps in life? What do the next few weeks look like for you? Moving on, hopefully getting on an NFL roster, draft coming up, free agency. Kind of talk about that for us, if you would.
So next steps are, I'm going home tomorrow morning because it was just easier for my family. It was either they're going to come out here or I'm going to go out there.
So you want to be with your family for that process?
I want to be able to enjoy it with them because it's been a good 4 years at Boise State where, honestly, I think, especially this season, my dad missed one game. My mom was at every game,
Wow.
Hawaii included. So family's really important to me, so being with them. But then after that, it's going to be, I'm being in Denver for 2 days with my family. And then on day 3, I'm going to fly to Dallas to go celebrate Ashton because it's been cool to see like his 3 years here were my sophomore, junior, and senior year. So I've gotten to see him grow. So being able to celebrate him is super important to me. And then wherever I end up is going to be go train for a week, probably back with my trainer in Atlanta, and then go straight to mini camp. And then from mini camp, we have, I think, OTAs to now actual preseason camp, and preseason camp to preseason, and make the roster preseason to season. It's going to be a year of probably the most football I've ever played, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
So in the NFL, there's a 53-man roster, right?
Yes, sir.
And so in college football, college teams carry more players than pro teams are able to. And so I think as you're kind of talking about, for those that may not be as familiar with the way that transition works from going to college to the NFL, obviously to even become a Division I athlete is an amazing accomplishment. To earn some of the honors that you've earned at Boise State, to even get on the field is a big deal. To earning a spot as being a starter, to earning all conference honors, defensive MVP of the Mountain West Championship game, like all those things are incredible honors. And then going to the NFL is another step in that progression, right? Where it's the NFL is the best of the best of the best. And so you have everyone in the world that ever straps on a helmet and shoulder pads dreams of playing in the NFL. Kind of talk to us about what has that been like for you in this process and this journey. I mean, obviously you've accomplished a ton through your football career already, but pursuing that dream and that opportunity to go play in the NFL, what's that like?
Honestly, it's kind of been a journey of trying to figure out who I am as a person. I think when I came into Boise State at 17, because I early enrolled, I think my identity was completely in football.
Okay.
But then as I kind of grew throughout this program and had men around me that made me realize football can't be my entire identity. So it's kind of like once I figured out that my identity was honestly in my faith in Christ, that my football play kind of elevated because I was able to play more free because my life wasn't dependent on this sport, but this sport was something that was an avenue for me to now show his light in my life. So as I'm able to chase this dream, I don't think the dream is honestly essentially for me. I really think it's for Jesus. Like, I want to be able to go to these high places and proclaim his name because I believe all people want it. All people need to hear it. So being able to step into these places that honestly are dark places where there is a culture that honestly celebrates things that oppose him, it kind of makes me want to work harder to go celebrate things that are of him.
Love
Because
that.
when you go into places that honestly, like you said, there's probably 0.1% of players, all football players, will even make it into the NFL.
Yeah.
So that 0.1 really think that they're honestly untouchable. I kind of know I am touchable because God is like, what's God say? It's like, do not fear those who can harm your body, but fear the one that can harm your soul and your body. It's like God has that control. So it's like when I walk in these places and it's like my dreams to play in the league, it's to make people realize you have to humble yourself before him and watch him elevate you as you humble yourself before him.
Love that. You talked about coming to Boise State as a 17-year-old. You mentioned about having people that had an impact on your life and helped shift you. It paints the picture that this wasn't always who you were. This wasn't always what your identity was. Your identity was probably largely wrapped up into the things that you were involved in, as can easily be the case for most people. Talk about that change. Who are those people that had that impact on you? Who set that example? Who do you feel like helped you most in your, I guess we'll call it a journey of getting to know Jesus? Love your sweatshirt, by the way. But getting to know Christ and coming closer to him and impacting your life in a positive way. Who would you say those mentors or people that had that impact in your life?
Honestly, it started with probably so Coach Av was the first person to take me to church when I first got here. And then Coach Danielson and my position coach kind of like they kind of showed me football wasn't everything, but Coach Danielson definitely was one person that he just modeled what it looks like to just work hard for Jesus. But then we had our chaplain, Pastor Mark, who was always doing chapels, and the chapels were always kind of like aimed at me, it felt like. But we kind of bonded over the fact that we were both pastors' kids because my dad was a pastor.
Okay.
And then I had two pastors. I had Pastor Landon Hargrove and Jordan Miller, who are at Oasis City, who honestly helped mold me into a person that I am today, along with another pastor who's he's a doctor technically at the Biblical Study Center. And he helped me to realize that, yeah, life around football is really easy to get consumed in. But when you realize that there's going to be life after football, it means you have to start to prepare for that. But it's also not prepare for the fact of, oh, you might fail. No, it's prepare for the fact that you will succeed. So having all these men around me where it's like, wow, they all played their sport. And then they let the sport be an avenue to elevate them in other places. Like, uh, I received a bracelet from Coach D, and it says, love Jesus, work hard, and treat people right. And I think my sophomore year, I walked into his office and we just talked. And he was like, I have these three things every day that I just want to try to do every day. I'm not going to do them completely perfectly every day, but if I strive to them every day, I know that I'm walking in accordance to what Christ wants us to do. And I also have, honestly, my dad's one person where I've had hard conversations with him. And I also had teammates too. Taylor Green, Chase Penry, Jackson Greer. Those guys were, Jackson was actually younger than me, but he was a person I looked up to just because of his discipline. Because I think a lot of people just think that Christianity is a way of just being able to, oh, I'm forgiven.
Jesus has got it, right? Like I can do whatever I want and there's no consequence because Jesus paid the price for it.
But Jackson really showed me what it looks like to just actually have discipline. Like, cool, I am a sinner in need of a savior, but doesn't mean I need to continue to do things or do the things that he opposes and just to be dependent on forgiveness. Because sometimes you kind of get caught in the forgiveness cycle. And honestly, I think of it like my relationship with my own dad. I don't always want to be asking for forgiveness with my own dad.
Yeah.
How much more do I not want to ask for forgiveness to my spiritual father?
Yeah.
So kind of having those guys around me where it was just like, wow, like y'all elevate me to have to be a better man.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I'm going to be a father one day, God willing. And I don't want to continue to have to break these generational curses or deal with generational curses that my kids will have to deal with if I don't break them now.
Yeah. No, I love that. I'm a big believer that just as Jesus taught that if you love me, keep my commandments, right? Like the best way that we can manifest our love for Jesus is to embody what it means to be like him. He doesn't just want to be the king of a bunch of peasants and serfs. He wants to be the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. His mission and his goal is to elevate everyone whose life he comes into. I also think of the proverb that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, right? Like if you really think something, if you really believe something, it will have an impact on who you are. If it doesn't have an impact on who you are, you don't really believe it, right? And so I'm a firm believer that actions follow motivations. And if that's what our motives really are, if that's what we really believe, then our actions are going to follow that. So you're an amazing example of that, Shay. Love it. Thanks for sharing that with us. I love Coach D saying, I mean, I'm a big fan of Coach D. In fact, we're going to have him on here in a couple of weeks, and grateful to have that discussion with him because we got like a lot of great things we want to talk about. But I love that saying that he shares all the time of love Jesus,
work hard,
and treat people right.
Yes, sir.
Right? Like that's a great mantra to live by in life. And if you can just do those three things, if you can strive to be doing those three things, that's a pretty good checklist to go over at the beginning of every morning, at the end of every night. Hey, how did I do with doing these things today? And as we take that personal inventory on our own lives and our own actions, that we're going to make mistakes. We're going to look back and say, okay, I could have done this better. I could have had more kindness, more compassion there. But, we look back and it's through those small improvements over a sustained period of time that makes the biggest impact. The reason why we call it the 1% podcast is obviously I'm motivated and I love having discussions and hearing about people that have risen to be in the top 1% of whatever their area or industry or whatever they're working toward is, which you've been able to do, but also having that focus of becoming 1% better every day, right? If at the end of the night we kneel down and pray and evaluate how do we do with loving Jesus, working hard and treating people right, if I can go evaluate that and if I can just get 1% better in those categories every single day over a period of time, I'm going to be transformed as a person. And I'm a big believer that transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. And it sounds like that's kind of how it was for you. It wasn't just like one day a light switch came on, but it's more of people come into your life. You're doing things. You're going to chapel. You're meeting with people. You're going to church. You're reading the word. And that's having an impact in your life over time.
100%. I always say Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
But like when I walked in here, I saw y'all's value statement for your company. So like when you were coming up, what are some things that you kind of tried to emphasize every day in the grind of building a company, or in your case, 3 of them?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So I think having a mission statement, having values, having pillars that define who you are and what you want is the best way to attract people that want the same thing, right? To be very open and bold about wanting to impact people's lives for the positive, that your mission and your focus in your company is to improve the lives of your clients and your employees, and being open about that and sharing that we have these values of having an impact, having integrity, innovating. Like those are things that are important to us. And so other people that value coming up with new ideas, innovating, people that want to have impact on other people's lives, people that believe in having integrity and doing the right thing, you're going to attract those kinds of people to do business with you, to want to be part of your organization, whatever it is. And so I don't think that the importance of that can really be overstated, because it's one of the most powerful things I feel like we've done. I often say that the best thing that you can do as a business owner or as the leader of any organization is to recruit and retain high value people. And as I look back, the most important things that I can do has always been getting the right people on the bus, right? Recruiting and retaining high value people to come be part of your corporation, because I don't know everything, like not even close. Like I go into these meetings, these different departments, and I'm not the smartest guy in any of the rooms. Like there's so many people that know so much more about all these things than I do. Yeah, I had an elementary understanding of each of them as we were starting out and as things were much smaller. But as things have grown, you have amazing, capable people that are able to take it to a whole nother level, and they're able to do so much more than any one person could do on their own, or in our case, a couple of people. And so I'm just, I'm so big on that building a team, having the right people on the bus, finding the right seats for those people, putting out who you are, what you stand for, your mission, your purpose, your values. When you put those things out there, if you want to call it manifesting, those things, they really do happen. If you have the courage to speak it, if you really believe it, and if you're willing to live it, those things will come back to you. And I'm a firm believer in that. It's happened over and over and over and over again.
Man, I was like, this kind of question that kind of came in my head because I have teammates that are transitioning into like me transitioning into professional sports,
Yeah.
and teammates transitioning into professional life.
Yeah.
And it's no secret that we all know like the job market's hard right now.
Yeah.
So with a company like yours being the CEO, what would your advice be to those, honestly, just athletes, even students that
Yeah.
are transitioning into professional life
Yep.
with the struggle of trying to find a job right now?
Yeah, I love it. That was a great question. I am a huge proponent of investing in yourself. And we have a few guests with us here today. I have my son Cannon, my daughter Versailles, you may not be able to see on camera. We have Beckham here with us, my sister Alex's son. But we wanted to bring them in on this discussion, let them kind of see and hear, and obviously they look up to you. But I think that's a great question. I think it's something that a lot of people may not really consider because sports is so encompassing of your life and of your time. And so people don't always prepare for when it ends because for everyone it will end, right? Even if you're Tom Brady and you win 7 Super Bowls, eventually at some point it's going to end, right? It ends for everybody. And then what does life look like after that? And as a person, is my identity more than just this thing that I do? I'm more than just a football player. I'm more than just a basketball player. I'm more than just this one singular part of my identity. I am first and foremost a child of God, and I'm all these other things, right? I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a business owner, I'm a coach, I'm a philanthropist. Like I want to give back to the community. Like those are all different parts that make me who I am. So going back to your question, I think it's important to develop yourself. The number one thing that I teach, and I go speak at Boise State occasionally, I tell the kids all the time, your degree means nothing, your skills mean everything. And nobody cares what degree you have. People only care what skills you have and what value you can bring. So build a skill set, build value. Most of what I know, I went and earned a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. Most of what I know, I did not learn in school. I learned from reading books. I learned from listening to podcasts. I learned from watching YouTube videos. I learned from going online and researching and figuring things out. And having that mentality to be humble enough to say, I don't know more than almost anybody, but to say I'm not afraid to go learn is a really, really powerful skill set to have. And so you will get paid based on what you know and based on who you know. And those are the two biggest things that drive any person's value is having a skill set that can help any type of organization and having a network where you can connect people. Because the more people you know, chances are you're going to know someone that can help you solve a problem. For example, let's say your company's in the middle of building out an online store. They're trying to launch a digital app or something like that to, be able to streamline things in their company. And they're having a hard time getting that over the finish line. Well, if you have a network of people, you're like, hey, I have a buddy that does this. This is what he does professionally. He builds these for all these companies. He did it all the way through college. He went and earned a degree in computer science or whatever, and this is what he does. I can get him to come in. Maybe he would be someone that could help us with this. Having that network, having those connections is valuable. Knowing who to go sit down with, how to get yourself in the right rooms, you can go start to share what your value is. I use the analogy all the time that you can be the greatest football coach in the world, but if nobody knows that you're a football coach, you're never going to be able to really realize your true potential and value. And so you have to have a network. You have to be around people where you're conversing, you're interacting, and people can be able to see that value, right? To kind of use a scriptural phrase, like you don't want to hide your light, under rug. Like you want to have it out there for people to see, not in a ostentatious way, not to be arrogant or bragging, but in a way where people can really get to know you and who you are. And frankly, that's part of the reason I wanted to have you on here is because I was impressed with you. Shay's buddies with a trainer that my son Cannon goes to, and I had the pleasure of meeting you there a couple weeks ago, and we started talking. I was like, this guy's awesome. We got to have him on the podcast because, you have a light and you have something that you stand for, and being able to share that, I think, is really important. So those are kind of the two biggest things, I guess, right off the top of my head that I would share with anyone transitioning out of college, sports, whatever that is, moving on to the next phase of your life, to go develop a skill set. And I believe that every person is born with talents and aptitudes. Everyone has God-given abilities. What you go and do with that is largely up to you. And so making the most of those talents, going and accentuating those strengths, working on the things that are weaknesses for you, but really accentuating the things that you're good at, the things that you like, and going and fueling those and building a skill set around that and building a network of people where you go meet people. And it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to go walk into a room full of people you don't know and you go start shaking people's hands, introducing yourself, to go do the homework beforehand to learn about the people that are going to be in that room so that you have questions to ask them or you have a reason to engage, that you're finding some sort of mutual connection with other people. Like, that's homework in action. Those are the kinds of things that actually really do pay, because everyone's favorite topic is themselves and their kids. Like, that's everyone's favorite topic, right? It doesn't matter who you are, that's your favorite topic. And so if you can go learn how to talk to other people, engage with them about their business, their organization, their family, other things like that, that's profound. That has a massive impact. If you could go sit down in a job interview and you've done your homework not only on the company but on the person that you're getting interviewed with, whether that's the president, CEO, whether that's other people that maybe have influence in the organization, the more that you know and understand about them and be able to create personal connections, that shows them that you're willing to go to that higher degree of detail in order to make sure that things happen. Because I say this saying to my kids in football all the time, that details matter, right? Like, details absolutely matter. They matter in football and they matter in life, right? Your alignment absolutely matters, right? Where your eyes are at, where your hips are at, where your shoulders are at, like, all those things, they all matter. When you're attacking near foot and near shoulder, like, that all matters. The way that you get to anything, one person missing a call, one person missing an assignment, can even be the difference in winning or losing a game, right? Making it or not making it into the playoffs or whatever that looks like. So a small little detail can have massive consequences. The same thing is true in life. Same thing is true in business. It's true in moving on, getting jobs, elevating in your career. That people love detail-oriented people. Like, I put a massive value on detail-oriented people because they're going to make sure that all those little things get done right. They're going to make sure that things get to where they need to go. Not, oh, hey, we can't count on this person to actually get it all the way across the finish line. They'll start, but they're never actually going to get it finished. So, no, great question. Love it. I want to talk about your family a little bit and get to know your family a little bit. So your family immigrated to the United States from Nigeria just a little bit before you were born. Is that how that happened?
A good amount of time before I was
Okay.
born.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Your parents grew up in Nigeria. That's where they're from. So their families have been there forever. How did your parents get connected to come to the United States? I mean, to the extent that you're able, can you talk to us about that?
So let's see. So my dad's been here he's probably touching 4 years now. He's been here since he's about 25. But my dad and my godfather, so my uncle technically, they came here together about 25 years ago. My dad kind of worked a plethora of jobs between cab driver, bus driver, mechanic.
What made him want to come to America from Nigeria?
Honestly, opportunity.
Okay.
It's just kind of what brings everyone. Is like, it's an opportunity to elevate yourself, because like my dad came here with a PhD,
Okay.
but still had to work from the ground up. So yeah, being able to get that PhD,
What did he have a PhD in?
information structures.
Okay.
So it's been.
So he had a great career in Nigeria.
Oh,
assuming had a certain level of success.
And then honestly, my dad met my mom back there, and then he and my uncle came, and then they eventually you basically bring your wife over after you get here.
Yeah.
So then my brother was born 2000. My brother's 2025, so my brother's 25. So my parents had my brother, and then I came 3 years after.
Where did they immigrate to?
My dad, I can't even tell you. My dad lived everywhere. But from when my mom came here, it was Denver.
Okay.
My parents lived in the same house for the past 20 years now.
Okay.
Because my dad built the house in 2000, and then just stayed in it. So he built it, he stayed in it, hasn't moved, just been in the same house my whole life.
So your dad worked a bunch of different jobs, basically had to start over by coming to America, comes here, has to start over, working a bunch of different jobs, not able to realize the full potential or value of his education that he had in Nigeria, comes here, starts working his way up, and then eventually, what did your dad end up kind of finally doing in his career? Did he find?
Oh yeah, so my dad had worked for IBM until I was in around high school. They had the big layoffs, and then he worked for Visa. Yeah, he did contracting. He was a contractor, independent contractor for a little bit during
Okay.
COVID, and then Visa was the last job. He's just chilling right now. And then my mom, she came over, and she worked for old people's home when I was younger, and she transitioned into working for the airline. So she works for United,
Okay.
and she's a manager for the people that um basically the people that clean the planes. Like,
Okay.
she's in charge of, like, when that plane lands, they got to get clean,
Yep.
ready to get back for the next flight. So
Yep.
she's a manager there.
So it sounds like both your parents are very hardworking. Sounds like they're both don't shy away from doing hard things. How do you feel like that impacted you as a child, like growing up with parents like that? What were some of the lessons that you learned from them, and how did they instill their work ethic in you?
Honestly, I think that work ethic was really putting me. Make sure that people have to tell you to slow down, not speed up. Because I think there came a point when I was younger where my parent, like, we had to tell my mom, slow down. Like, could be, my mom would be getting home when I'm going to school. And then when I'm leaving for school, like, it's like a quick, oh, hey, hi, bye.
So she's working
She's
nights.
going to work.
Yeah.
So it'd be, we had to tell her, like, slow down. Like, her health, my parents know how to work to the point where it's like, to provide for their children, their lives, like, their health, their livelihood don't matter. So my parents working at that insane rate. So my parents kind of taught me, like, go to a point where people have to tell you to slow down. Never be the person you have to tell to speed up, because the person that you have to tell to speed up is the person that eventually gets left behind.
Yeah.
So it's kind of something I learned from them. And even like my uncle, my dad's brother, came over. I think it's been like 7 years now. And even him, like, he came and he just works. Because, like, he wants to bring my cousins, his wife over here, just so it's like we can be a family.
And they're still back in Nigeria.
Oh, yeah. So he got his citizenship 2 years ago.
Okay.
So now you have to go through the whole process of getting them citizenship. Like, it's a bunch of blood tests of make sure that's your kid. It's a scary process.
Yeah.
But it's a fun process. Like, my dad did it, so my uncle's doing it with his children now, so they can come here so that they can get an education here, because education is power. It's like when my dad transitioned, like, that PhD in Nigeria doesn't mean as much as a PhD from here.
Yeah.
Just because it's just different. So it's like my dad kind of had to grind, and he even got more certifications on when he came here so he can get that IBM, that Visa job.
Yeah.
He's always, like you said, he's just trying to make himself valuable.
Yeah.
He wants to learn.
Yep.
He's willing to learn.
Doesn't say, hey, I've got this piece of paper that tells you I'm valuable, so someone needs to pay me what I feel like I'm worth. It's like, no, I'll go jump in. I'll go prove what I'm worth. I'll go add more certifications. I'll do whatever it takes. But, proving your worth and taking that ownership on yourself is
Exactly. Like, there's nights
powerful.
we talked about, like, that YouTube. It's crazy. I watched my dad at 57 up late nights learning how to code. He's just like, well, this is what the new world is. Like,
Yep.
I have to learn to do this so I can keep up and I can get a job.
Yeah.
And it's just continued to be like, whatever it takes for me to get a job and stay valuable in this job, I'm going to do it. It got to a point, like, my dad, I think it was my freshman year of college. My dad told me, he's like, yeah, they found cancer in my vocal cords. In my church, my dad's a pastor, and he leads his choir. So
Okay.
cancer in his vocal cords. He didn't tell me. My dad's really weird. He didn't tell me things until, like, I'm the last person to find out, because he wanted me to stress, because he knows I stress about everything.
Yeah.
Because, like, the conversation the other day, like, I think there's things that I can always control, and when things that happen that I can't control, it used to eat me alive.
Yeah.
So, like, things like, oh, how's my dad get cancer? Like, he's doing all this, he's grinding. It's like, wow, what am I going to do? But seeing how he was still so resilient and just kept on working. He went to his doctor visits, kept on working. My siblings go to college. They had to pay for college for my siblings. Cool. Kept on working. The house. All right, cool. Got to work more. Oh, we need more money. My dad's like, I'm not going to shy away from it. I'll do Uber if that's what it takes. It's like anything it takes to make sure that my kids are good and that we're good. He's like, I don't need all the shiny, the fancy stuff. I'm just trying to make sure my kids can live and not be in need. It's like anything that we need,
It's amazing.
I'm going to get it.
That's amazing.
So it's been cool to be able to see that. Like, it's honestly changed my perspective on the things that matter in life. Because I think a lot of people, especially where I'm going, want to go there so they can have all these things.
Buy all the stuff, right?
But it's like, for me, it's like, I'm just at a point where I've seen what it looks like to have a lot. And I've seen what it looks like to honestly be eating ramen at night, like struggling. So it's like to be able to see that, all right, it's not about what you have. It's about the people you can help. Like, for me, I think I want to go. It's like my full name is O'Shea Joseph Oladipo, and it's like when I think of the story of Joseph, it's Joseph brought Israel to a new place.
Yep.
He elevated Israel to a whole new status.
They're living in Canaan. They're in the middle of a huge drought, suffering, dying. And it was everything that Joseph had to go through, getting sold as a slave into Egypt, being wrongly accused by Potiphar's wife, going and spending 13 years in prison, eventually getting out, getting an opportunity to go serve again, works his way up. And it was through all of his trials and all of his struggle and hardships and mistreatment that ultimately ended up saving his family and extended. And yeah, it's amazing. Like, I love the story of Joseph. And
like, even reading it, like, I go back and read it a lot because it's just like the thing that I take from that is Joseph, even through it all, in a world that we could easily say it's a dog-eat-dog world, Joseph continued to do people right.
Yeah, including his brothers.
Exactly. In a time where, like, even before his brothers, I'm like, other prisoners, he could have told them, he could have left their dreams alone.
Yep.
Could have left them alone, like, I don't need to interpret their dreams, like, forget it. But by him being God's man, doing what God would do. Like, for us, it's what would Jesus do? That wasn't Joseph's thing, but by being obedient to what God says to love each other.
Yep.
It's like, okay, I'm going to love my neighbor as I love myself. I'm having a dream I can't decipher. I'm going to decipher it for you because I know I can't.
Yeah.
And it's like that eventually led to him doing it for Pharaoh.
Yeah.
And Pharaoh's like, oh, hold on. That guy, he could do what none of y'all could do, so I'm going to put him in charge of everything.
Yep.
And it's like being able to elevate his family, even though his family at some points treated him wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's a person that it's cool to have a name after.
Oh, that's amazing. Like, and the fact that you've made that connection and studied so much into Joseph and self-identifying with that, I think is really powerful. One of the things I love about Joseph as well is that's evidence that every person has a gift, right? Like, Joseph obviously had this gift from God, and he could have hid that gift, and he didn't. Maybe have been misunderstood partially, like, by his brothers. He has this dream about this wheat and their bushels falling down and worshiping his. That may have led to some animosity from them, but eventually, like, he learned how to utilize that gift for good, and he didn't hide it and put it under a bushel. He made it so that other people could see that. He was willing to go before Pharaoh. He was willing to do whatever that took. And, going back to a number of things we've talked about, but I think that Joseph's an amazing example of that. Became an incredible leader, not only saved his family, but saved Egypt too, right? It's like he saved both in the process. And so, no, Joseph's an incredible, hero of mine. There's a book, and we can link it on the podcast here. It's called Joseph in the Way of Forgiveness. But there's a book that was written, I forget who the author is, but we can link it and show it on here. But I read that several years ago and really had a profound impact on me in Joseph's constant willingness to go back to forgiving people that had wronged him, not holding grudges, moving forward, seeing every challenge as an opportunity that came into his life. And sounds like you have some powerful examples of that in your life with your parents as well. Talk about how that has impacted your career in football, because there's some, we were talking about this the other day, there's some unbelievably gifted athletes that you've had a chance to work with, right? Guys that you played with at Boise State. Not everyone chooses to make the most out of that athletic gift, right? Like, anyone that's ever played sports at any level, there's varying degrees of talent and natural ability that certain people have. Some people have an ability to go and to maximize that or to stretch it much further, and some people don't. Maybe talk about your parents and their work ethic and how that impacted you in sports and in football and in driving you to try to be the best version of yourself that you can be.
Honestly, I think it just allowed me to just let go, be free, and let God work with me. It kind of allowed me to just, every time you step on the field, it's an opportunity to glorify God. And I think my senior year was honestly a point where I really reached the maximum of it, where my celebrations weren't about me. Because I think we've seen a plethora of these celebrations nowadays where it's just getting crazier and crazier, sometimes disrespectful, sometimes just funny. And I think for me, my go-to was always just cross my chest and up to God. Every time I make a play, oh, it's up to God. And even the weight room, every time you step in the weight room was an opportunity to just better yourself. Like we talk about 1% every day.
Yeah.
So I think my parents were able to show me what it means to really walk into places and work. Forget how you're feeling before. You can deal with how you're feeling after. But in this moment where you're at your work, like, be where your feet are. You have to work today. And I think 4 years feels or sounds like a long time when you say it. But from walking in January 10th of 2021 and sitting here April, was it 23rd of 2025, I can say that 4 years blasted fast.
Yeah.
And it's like, are there some days I'm like, I wish I made the most of those days better? Yes, but I think that in those days, I'm blind to the fact that I still worked hard. Because I think there's times where, oh, did I make an excuse before I got there? Yeah, I still shut up and worked. Because like sometimes I think you kind of fall into the part of, there's guys that have athleticism that they don't work as hard. And it's like when you talk to those people, they can kind of affect you and bump elbows the wrong way, where it's they start making excuses for themselves. So you're like, yeah, you're right. But it's like, oh, wait, never mind. No, you're not right. We got to work today.
Yeah.
It don't matter how you feel. It don't matter what they made us do yesterday. It doesn't matter how crazy. Like for us, every summer it was decks. Like running the upper stadiums was something that it didn't matter if you felt good, if you felt bad, you're running them. And it was just what we did. It's what we do at Boise State. It's a part of our blue collar work ethic. So Boise State plus my parents just taught me, all right, in everything you do, work. Like, oh, I feel terrible, work. Like, work to a point where you truly can't. And once you can't, best part of football, you go to your trainer, they're going to get you better, and then go work again. And it's just a process where every day it's just compound interest where, all right, cool, I got this much better today. All right, cool. But when I start stacking days, it's no longer just 1% better. No, it's okay, 1. All right, wait, I got 2% better because I just built on that 1%.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm 10% better. Oh, it might not be physically, but now I'm 20% better physically plus mentally.
Yep.
Always finding something where it's like, oh, I can stretch better. I could watch film better. I can ask better questions in meetings. I can show up better. I can show up on time. I can show up earlier so I can perform better. And it's just finding ways to be able to fine tune my life and even learn habits where post football, I'm going to be setting myself up for success. Because football is truly just, I've said a lot, an avenue to life.
Yep.
The lessons I've learned in football are life lessons. And from my parents, it's like, my dad used to wake up so early. I was like, what are you doing up? Like, I'd wake up middle of the night to use the bathroom. He's up already, like, starting his day. My mom would be up and going to work. But it'd be like, wow, seeing how it's like, they might not feel good because they just got off, they got off late the night before. But they're going to get up and they're going to go to work.
No excuses.
Can't make them because once you make an excuse, there's someone that is going to pass you by. And that's the reality. I had to figure out that this world is still a competitive world. There is someone that wants your spot. And when you decide to take your foot off the gas, you're letting them catch up.
Yep. It's with everything in life, right? Like it's in football, it's in work.
Academics.
Yeah, it's in everything, right? It's like there's always other people out there working and your spot's never guaranteed, right? Like there was a saying that one of my old football coaches would say is like, rent's due every day, right? Like success is never owned, it's only rented, and rent's due every day, right? You got to show up and you got to work every single day. And if you can find ways to do things that other people aren't doing. I always say you can expedite experience, right? Like when I was young in my career, I would hear all the time, like, oh, you don't know anything. You're just a kid. You don't know anything. You're just a kid. You're just 21 years old, 22 years old, 25 years old. You don't really know anything. People would say that, oh, I've been in this industry for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, 40 years. It's like, okay, well, I can't go fast forward myself 30 years into the future to go get people's respect. So how am I going to do that? And I just learned that I can go expedite my experience. I can go do more things in a day than most people do in a week. I can go do more things in a week than most people do in a month. I can go do more things in a month than most people can go in a year. And if I can go do that for a sustained period of time, I can go expedite my level of experience to where, yeah, I may only be 24, 25 years old, but I have learned and experienced and put in enough time and effort and study to surpass what people learn in 20, 25, 30 years because I can go expedite that experience. And that's a way that you create great value for yourself. No, those are incredible lessons. And, something why I advocate that every kid should be part of, every kid should learn to play a sport or, have some sort of hobby that's demanding of them, right? Like it's good to have fun. Having fun's an important part of being a kid, but learning how to do hard things is an important part of life because life isn't just fun. Like life is meant to be a grind. Life is meant to teach us hard lessons, and life will eventually take everything from you. And that's a really difficult concept to come to grips with, but life will eventually take it all from you. And so learning how to do hard things at a young age is a valuable skill set that all kids should learn. And football is obviously a great teacher of that too.
Oh yeah, like my dad will tell stories of my first year playing football, where my coach came to my dad and he was like, "He's soft. He doesn't want to tackle." And I think my mind naturally just kind of threw it away, even though eventually it'll come back. But he's like, "Yeah, I made you tackle a mattress." And I was like, "I don't remember this at all." Like he's like, "I made you go in our front yard and you tackle a mattress. Like we put a mattress around the tree, and you had to run into the tree and until you decided to tackle it." And I was like, "I don't remember this." But I'm like, all right, now that lesson now is probably what goes through my head when it's, oh, I'm practicing against an Ashton Genty. And it's like, a tree, Ashton Genty. Probably
Pretty similar.
pretty similar there. I say, like,
Only this one moves. Yeah.
moves good and fast and has good feet. And
Yeah.
it'll run you over. But honestly, it's just those moments of doing the hard things. And talk about that expediting experience. It's like, for me, even I had the opportunity to co-preach a sermon. And a lot of people would go and say, you don't have the experience to get up there. You don't have the experience to even, you don't have enough life experience to be able to say things to people that have been through more, like they've been through more life than you. And I always say, like, God used young people for a reason. Jesus didn't call old people when he came. His disciples were young.
Yeah.
And it's not because, oh, I'm going to put all the experience in. It's like, no, wisdom comes best at the expense of someone else. When I was out here and I listen to people like you, and I sit here and I listen to my parents, I sit here and I listen to my pastors, it's like I can learn from the experiences that they've had without having to go through them myself.
Yep.
And even use that and pass it along to others so that they can now learn it from me. So it's like being able to sit here like with football, I can learn from the guys that came before me. And instead of making the wrong turn, just make the right turn because I made the wrong turn earlier.
Yeah.
But it all comes from that willingness to learn.
Yeah.
And I think something you said earlier, it's like, as a man thinketh, so is he. God, if you don't believe that God deposited a measure of faith in you, you're not going to live it out. You're not going to live out who he called you to be. And that's something that I always catch myself where whenever I walk into a room, like you said, like going through a room of people I don't know, whenever I walk into a room and I start to shy down, like, and I start to be scared, it's like, I'm hiding that light that he put in me rather than walk in there like God intended for you to be there. Because I believe that there is someone waiting for you to be obedient to his word so that you can show them that light and they can be saved from their darkness. So it might be a businessman where
Powerful share.
if I don't go and say hello and we have a conversation and a part of my life is my faith, he might not be able to get saved from that darkness he's going through.
Yeah.
Where there are businessmen, like you've probably seen it. There are people who are billionaires who are miserable.
Yeah.
There are people who are poor who are thriving.
Yep.
But it's like Jesus is the one that can get that billionaire to go from a billionaire who's just without him to a billionaire with him. And who knows, that billionaire can now invest into the kingdom and further the gospel to places that it needs to go. Because I think a big thing is when you walk with that light and you walk with it proudly, like what the Bible says, perfect light cast out all darkness. So you walk into a room full of people walking in darkness, they're going to walk out filled with some type of light where it's like, wait, that guy's different. And it might not be, oh, they're going to give you a job, but it might be, right? Like you said, at a certain point, life's going to take it all from you.
Yep.
You've never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse. Is the best thing I've ever heard.
Yep.
Because like, all right, I can climb the ladder of success, but guess what? At the end of the day, it's, do I know you? Does Jesus know you? And are you going to hear that, well done, my good and faithful servant? I want to steward my life right. And time is my most valuable commodity. So if I walk into a room and I use it to just try and get something from that person, I'm missing an opportunity. But if I go into that room and they get something from me, I get something from them. Now we're both leaving better than we just came.
Yeah.
So that's
hopefully you and I are a good example of that. Raul, just meeting a couple weeks ago, and we're walking the gym, and you come walking over and reach out and shake my hand, and we start talking and become friends. And you look at kind of just what's transpired from that, and you've been a blessing in my life, and hopefully I'll get to be one in yours as well. But no, just not hiding your light, being willing to be the person that walked out there and says, "Hi, I'm Seyi Oladipo. Nice to meet you," and looking people in the eye, shaking their hand, being sincerely caring about what their story is, who they are, what matters to them, sincerely being concerned with, being willing and able to help them. And as you do that, I'm a big believer that if you put good out there, the good's going to come back to you. And as you seek to bless other people's lives, not with the thought of getting a reward for it, but as you go put good out there without any thought of anything coming back, that good things will come back to you. So I have no doubt, whether it's playing in the NFL, going and having an amazing career, and playing in Pro Bowls and winning Super Bowls and those kinds of things, if that's what God's will is for you, that you'll go do it. I have no doubt of that. Whether that route is something else, I have no doubt that you'll do amazing things in that too, because there's power in being willing to do whatever God wants you to do. I see some people that waste a lot of years of their life and lose a lot of their potential and focusing on what they want to do rather than doing what God wants them to do, or focusing their life in a way that is a blessing to other people, and knowing when it's time to say, hey, this is what I'm being called to do. I'm going in this other direction. And, being willing to walk away from things. And so God's plan for us is always better than the plan that we have for ourselves.
And even on that point, I'll say to the people that listen to this and you're like, I feel I'm wasting my life, I can say from my living testimony that God, my first 3 years was me just chasing football. But God did more with my last 9 months at Boise State than I think I could have done in my 3 years by myself. So it's like, even though you're walking wrong now, if you turn back, God will do more with the 1 month you have left of life than you could have done with that 3.
Yep.
Because I truly am a firm believer of that. And Coach D really impacted me, and he said this to me before my senior year. He's like, doors God opens, no man can shut. And once I heard that, I was like, all right, God's just waiting for me to be obedient. And it's like, sometimes, like, delayed obedience is still disobedience, but God still has a plan. He has a plan for you, and he has someone waiting for you. So it's like, once you go, you just got to go and just give it all to him. But I had a question earlier, and it's kind of on to that point of going and being a professional athlete. Some people might say, once you're a professional athlete, you have to look the part.
Yeah.
Some people might say, being a CEO, you might have to look the part. What are your thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, love it. Thank you for asking that. I'll hit on one thing you said previously, and then I'll address your question. There's an old proverb that says the best day to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. And so no matter where you are or where you've been or how many mistakes you feel you've made or how many wrong turns you feel like you've made, you've never gone beyond God's love for you. And it is always possible to start over. And the best day to do that is today. And so, no matter how long you feel like you've missed opportunities, or no matter how much destruction or poor decisions you made in your life that have had negative impacts, like, you can start over. Every day's a new day, right? The sun rises every single day, and we have an opportunity to wake up and to be better today than we were yesterday. And so I think that that's a profound lesson that I've learned over the course of my life, that as we make mistakes, you get back up and you try again, and God still loves you, and he's still there no matter what. So, love the question asking about, does appearance matter? Does it matter as a professional athlete, and does it matter beyond? And I think that's a great thing to ask, because I think that in one way, someone could easily confuse to say that, well, if you're doing what God wants you to do, if you're trying to do what's right, it doesn't matter how you appear. None of these things matter. Um, I believe that it does. I do believe that we still live in a world where people are making judgments and assessments about you every day, and opportunities will open in lots of different ways, and opportunities will close in lots of different ways. And so someone could say, for example, does being on time matter? Well, what's the difference whether I'm 5 minutes early or I'm 5 minutes late? And, I think that, well, that's one of the things that sports can teach you, that the way that you show up as a team, the way you show up to meetings matters. If everyone's walking in 5 minutes late, that's not great for the team. That takes away, it shows, a form of selfishness. And so being on time matters. The way that you look taking the football field, if half the team's wearing white socks and the other half's wearing blue socks and the other half's wearing orange socks, and some guys have this and some guys wearing blue helmets, some other guys wearing orange helmets, like, it impacts your unity and your ability to be able to be a team. And so uniforms matter. The way that your team conducts itself matters. The way that you act in precision matters. The way that you warm up matters. Like, all of those kinds of things all play a role. And I think that looking at appearances, people, I'll say this maybe in a more succinct way. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor, taught that the way that you do something is the way that you do anything. And I'm a firm believer in that any high achieving person that I've ever met is high achieving in every area of their life. If you go to their house, their room's not a mess, their stuff's not a disaster, they don't have things all over the floor. You go look in their car, it's not full of McDonald's wrappers, doesn't have garbage all over the floor, doesn't look like a homeless shelter inside of it. Like, they take care of their things. My grandma would say that you can be poor and you can still be clean, right? You can still take care of your things. You can make things last longer. You can take care of them. And it's the same way with your appearance, right? You can still make sure that you smell good, that you clean your things, that you show people that you're willing to follow through, and people are more likely to trust you when they feel like this person has their stuff together, right? If you come walking in with, untied shoes and a, outfit that is dirty and, all this stuff, and you're not matching what is appropriate for the setting, that sends a message to people, and certain doors just may not open for you. And so, coming from a guy that lives half my life in athletic clothing, I love to coach, I love to work out, I love to train. I love to be with my kids while they're doing those things. Like, those things all matter to me. And so that's appropriate for the time. And then there's other times where, I need to be dressed like this, or I need to be in a suit, or I need to be other things, that trying to match what's appropriate for the situation, not saying, hey, I'm going to go walk into this, governor's ball because I can. I'm going to wear a t-shirt and shorts because, I feel like I'm important enough to do that. Having the mentality that I want to try to match the situation, and I don't want my dress to take away from who I am and what I'm trying to accomplish. I want it to send a message of who I am on the inside, and try to have that match with my appearance on the outside. So I don't know if that answers your question really well or not, but
Definitely does.
okay,
Good.
good. Well, now Shay, we are pulling for you when I say that, I guess kind of speak for a lot of people here in Boise, Idaho, and I did not grow up as a Boise State fan, even though I grew up here. I was a little bit as a little kid because my grandpa was. but I became more of a Boise State fan over time. And as I built relationships and got to know people, that I'm a firm believer, like I care about people, not about what uniform they're in, right? And so as you get to know people, as you get to know coaches, as you get to know the players behind the face mask or behind the jersey, that you really get to know the people and care about them. And I'm a fan of yours. I'm a big fan of Coach D's. I believe in what he stands for and the things that he's trying to build at Boise State. I think that you're a great evidence of that. So I appreciate you, and we're pulling for you, whatever that looks like in the NFL and beyond. One of the special things about Boise, and I think about Boise State too, is that blue collar mentality, right? That mentality that you were raised with, that your parents instilled in you, this idea of blue collar and built different, right? Doing common things in an uncommon way is a great lesson to take into life, and that will help you to be successful in no matter what you do. So I wish you the best of luck with everything that's ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
Before we close out, do you have any other questions for me on anything that you want to hit on while we're on camera?
Any other questions? Ooh.
Well, you know where to find me.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not hard to find. So no, appreciate you coming on the podcast, and
Thank
look
you.
forward to seeing what happens from here on out, but we're pulling for you.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Seyi Oladipo.
Sir.